Welcome and hello. This is a video lesson on the HEC RAS controller, and we're going to be talking about the output variables subroutine, which is used to get the variable names and descriptions of the HEC RAS variables. So what you're seeing here is the Microsoft Excel VBA window. And down here in the intermediate window, I've printed out the first 100, let's see, yeah, 100 different HEC RAS variables using the output variables subroutine. So we're going to see how to get this list. There's more than 100, but this is just the first 100. So for instance, variable ID 1, 2, 3, 4 has these names and these descriptions. All right, so before we do that, I also need to demonstrate the importance of using these HEC RAS variables and knowing what they are because they're used in this function right here, output underscore node output, where we're going to be passing in a number of parameters. And this last parameter here is the variable ID to get our specific results that we want after running HEC RAS simulation. Okay, that is the direction we're going. I'm going to open up a simple 1D HEC RAS model. This is something I built previously. It runs a steady state simulation. So I'm going to bring up the results. Actually, I don't need to see the cross section. What I want to open up is view profile summary table. And what we have here is 6 different cross sections and 3 different flow profiles. EF1, 2, and 3 has a flow rate of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 CFS. For this lesson, I'm just going to focus on station 1000, which is this one that's highlighted over here in magenta. And I'm just going to focus on the 1000 profile, the 1000 CFS, which generates a water surface elevation of 38.96 feet, an energy grade line elevation of 39.15 feet, and then a maximum channel water depth of 7.96 feet. So we're going to just compare these numbers with what we get from the HEC RAS controller, and also, as mentioned previously, demonstrate how to get that list of variables, because you may be interested in some different variables than these 3 right here. Okay, so let's go back to VBA. I'm going to scroll to the top, close the console window, and I have this first subroutine called get results. What I'm doing here is just getting the project. I'm opening it up using the on HEC RAS controller object. So this is where it is instantiated. This is the path to my project, and then this line here actually opens up the project. Further down here, what I'm doing is getting the 3 different variables. So water surface elevation, the energy grade line elevation, and the maximum channel depth, all using this same function called output underscore node output. And then the only thing I'm changing between the 3 of them is the variable ID. So for water surface elevation, that is variable ID 2. For the energy grade line elevation, that's variable ID 3. Var ID is the 6th and final parameter in this function call to output underscore node output. Finally, I'm going to be printing out each of these 3 variables to the intermediate window. So we'll see that in just a moment. And if we scroll up here, we can just quickly review the other parameters that we're using in this function. So river ID is 1, reach ID is 1, node ID is 1. That pertains to the cross section of river station 1000. Okay, so that's those 3 parameters. UPDN is just, it's anything as long as it's a valid long, because for cross sections it's not used. And then for profile ID, that is also 1, which is associated with the 1000 CFS profile that we're running for our steady state simulation. So anyway, these values, first 5 parameters, are going to be the same for all 3 of our function calls to this output underscore node output function. Variable ID is going to be 2, 3, and 4 to return the water surface elevation, energy grade line elevation, and the maximum channel depth. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that in action. I'm going to Control G to open up my intermediate window. On here, I'm going to clear the results. I'm going to go ahead and save and then run this subroutine to get the results. And then boom, here are our results. Water surface elevation, 38.96. Energy grade line elevation, 39.15. And the depth is 7.96. So these 3 numbers should be the exact same that we saw in this table right here, which is 38.96, 39.15, and 7.96. So that's all we're doing there. And that's not groundbreaking. I covered this in a previous lesson. But what I haven't covered yet is how to get these values of 2, 3, and 4 for the three variables of interest. So that is covered in this function right here. I'm calling this get RAS variables data. The first block of code is a little bit redundant. I'm just opening up the exact same project as before. These variables are the three parameters that we're going to pass to this subroutine, output underscore variables. The first is just a long to represent the variable count, the total number of variables. And then the next two parameters is variable names and variable descriptions. They are arrays, and the data type is a string. So those are both passed by reference. All three parameters are passed by reference and assigned values within this subroutine. And then finally, what I'm doing at the very end here is looping through. Well, I could loop through all of the variables if I just change this 1 to variable count. But I learned that the intermediate window here only prints out like 200 lines, and there's like 272 different HEC RAS variables here using version 6.6. Different versions may have a slightly different number of variables and what the variables are, but basically, let's just change this back to 100. And what I'm going to be printing out is I, that's the index of the array, which happens to start at 1. And then after that, the variable name and the variable description. So this is what we started with when we first saw the VBA window earlier in this video. Let's go ahead and run this once again, just to be safe and to confirm that that is what we're doing here. Okay, so I'm going to put my cursor in the subroutine, go up to run, and then run the subroutine. All right, so let's scroll up here, and sure enough, we have the index to the array. That's the RAS ID. Here's number 2, 3, and 4. That's associated with the water surface elevation, energy grade line elevation, and the maximum channel depth. So you can read the variable descriptions further off to the right. And of course, you can scroll down and look at all the other variables that are available to you when using the HEC RAS controller. So for instance, we have the total flow rate in the cross section. That's variable ID 9. And then we have the flow rate contribution from the main channel, left and right overbank. That is 6, 7, and 8. I think I said that out of order, but you can read which number pertains to which variable here. There are variables for the flow area, the total, left overbank, main channel, and right overbank. And I'm not going to describe them all here, but you have the information at your fingertips just by running this output underscore variables function. And don't think that there's only 100 in version 6.6. I got 272. So there's plenty of variables for you to use in your HEC RAS analysis.